Good afternoon and welcome to today's installment of our four-part series of Purple Star Town Halls. This fourth and final installment is with Purple Star Schools, the original half of our Elite Eight that were the first Purple Star schools here in the Buckeye State and therefore the nation. So I welcome these four individuals who are on the screen in front of you. I'll go ahead and share their names and schools and titles, but I'll ask each of them to elaborate on their profession before we get into questions. And of course, please use the chat box for questions for our second half together that each of you can log on and ask. Appreciate it. I know we'll have more than 100 attendees here from Lake Erie to the Ohio River and beyond. So thank you. So kicking it off is Christy Fields, principal at Beverly Gardens Elementary School in the Mad River Local School District. Christy, please share a little bit more about you. Thank you so much.
Hi, good morning, afternoon. I am Christy Fields. I am the principal at Beverly Gardens Elementary School in the Dayton, Ohio area. We are located right in the middle of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So we have a lot of kids at my particular school is mostly military families, and we cater to those military families throughout the year in a variety of different ways that we'll talk about today. But our school is a little unique that we have well over like 60% military families at our school.
Matt Smith is the principal at Swanton Middle School. Appreciate you being with us today. Matt makes me look shorter than I am when I stand next to Matt. Matt, please add on to that introduction, sir.
Well, good afternoon. Thanks, Pete. So I'm the middle school principal at Swanton Middle School. We are just west of Toledo in Northwest Ohio. We actually have the 180th Fighter Wing just down the road from us near the Toledo Airport. So, we have a good number of military families in our district as well. So good afternoon to everyone, and I look forward to our conversation today.
Thank you, sir. Lee Carroll is the assistant principal at Oak Harbor Middle School. Lee, please share a little bit more about yourself.
Yes, hello. Thanks for joining in with us this afternoon. I am the assistant principal at Oak Harbor Middle School, which is right by Davis-Besse on the lake shore. Not only do we have the Marblehead Coast Guard, but we also have the 200th Red Horse, as well as Camp Perry. So we have a variety of military students in our district as well.
Thank you, ma'am. And our fourth and final panelist is Corey O'Brien, a science teacher at Hamilton Township High School in the Hamilton Local School District. Corey, please share a little bit about yourself, sir.
Well, welcome everybody. I keep looking over to the side to see how many people have joined our call, and it sounds like I'm in some good company with a bunch of administrators. So don't be too stingy on calling us some more snow days, right? Just keep that in mind as we move forward. But I'm a science teacher at Hamilton Township High School, as Pete said. I'm also a combat veteran, and one of the things that our school is kind of unique is Rickenbacker Air Force Base is in our backyard, and our school kind of doubled in size with World War II and Korea and Vietnam because Rickenbacker was such a large military presence. And so we have a huge history of military connected families. Many of our students were simply because of the base. And of course, we have a huge veteran presence. And then we also have all our National Guard units that are floating around us. But again, happy Thursday, and I'm glad to be a part of this panel. Pete.
Thank you, sir. So to give just a few moments of laying the groundwork and the framework was the State Council of MIC3 in the year 2015-16 wanted to see what does a military family-friendly school and community look like. So we searched for especially bigger military states, right, than ours, whether it be on the coasts, Washington State, where I happen to serve as a junior enlisted sailor, California, Florida, Texas, et cetera. And we didn't really see it as far as a standard or something. Hey, this is the mold to follow. So we got together with the members of our city council, professional educator associations, nonprofits like the USO and PTA, the state agencies led by our Ohio Department of Education, Ohio Department of Veteran Services, Ohio Air and Army National Guard, and even the Ohio Department of Higher Education, which some of you experts and folks know that isn't really the application for MIC-3 as a state law. It's a K-12, if you will, law from July 2009 supporting our active duty military kids. But we thought every branch should be represented. So in those focus groups, online surveys, and conference calls, we had branches represented. We had the spouse, the service member, military kid, and those entities, as I previously shared. And we went out and searched, what does it look like? So we could say, this is the Buckeye States version. And so that's what we came up with, launched it in April, month of the military child, in the school year 2016-17, from the National Museum of the United States Air Force there in Greater Dayton, in the shadow of the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And that's how we came up and launched with Purple Star Schools, the Purple Star Award for Military Family-Friendly Schools in that academic year. So we launched it there in April, month of the military child, but of course the application process was in the months that would succeed it. So obviously come April of this calendar year, it'll be the 5-year anniversary of launching it, but not the 5-year anniversary of these 4 joining 4 other schools and becoming the inaugural class of Purple Star schools as they were in October of 2017. So I'd like to begin with a round robin question to each of these 4 folks, because they were there when they applied those years ago, and ask, why did you seek application of the Purple Star Award? Christy, you want to start us off?
Sure. Because of where we're located, right in the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base area, we wanted to show our families that we really do care a lot about the military families, and we're very compassionate about all that they go through. And we were doing a lot of things at that time to support them, and we wanted them to know a lot about that. And then we've actually added to that throughout the years as we've gotten to know more people in this group and learned from one another and stole ideas from each other, and added more things to our school, even as we have grown as a Purple Star school.
And this panel is dynamic in the sense that it represents the true military family. As Matt mentioned, the 180th Air Wing there by his school, that is operated by the Air National Guard. And then, of course, just what Christy said, active duty heavy as far as Wright-Patterson. And then, of course, we have an active duty command near Oak Harbor, where the middle school is, that Lee Carroll is assistant principal of. And through that active duty branch of the Coast Guard, those are the dominating families there. And Corey represented, obviously, multiple bases here in Central Ohio, from Rickenbacker, and veterans populations, and of course, recruiters, and on down the list when we're talking Guard, Reserve, and active components. So now I'd like to continue on with Matt. Your thoughts on why you sought application of Purple Star in that first round many years ago?
Sure.
Real cowboys get customized car insurance.
Uh-oh. You hear me? There we go. I was getting some feedback there. So we obviously were interested in, and like you said, we were so close to, that base that, we see enough military families that we're cognizant of that they're in our hallways and classrooms. And, we've went through multiple students that have had family, mom, dad, stepmom, stepdad overseas for deployments and things like that. And it just, I saw that program, and I really didn't know much about it. And, this is something that can really, really help our student body and our families in our district. So to me, it was a no-brainer. I love the way that it's grown, and Pete just keeps pushing out, and it's spreading all across the country. Really proud of this program, but it was, to us, once I read about it, it was a no-brainer. This is going to help kids. It's going to help families. Why wouldn't you want to be a Purple Star school? So we're very proud of it, and we want to keep growing in the future.
Lee, I had the privilege of presenting on behalf of State Superintendent Paula DiMaria, then our State Superintendent, and the Ohio Department of Education, your Purple Star Award there. In fact, I don't think I had a purple tie until that moment that I got to join you and the Rockets up there at Oak Harbor. Why did you decide to apply, you and your community of the Rockets?
Yeah, for me, it was probably as much personal as it was professional, as I am a military brat. My father was 35 years in the Air Force. And so my mom was very involved in family readiness organization there at Camp Perry. And also with my history, it's kind of close to my heart. Plus, we have several students that have, they need that continual support as their parents get deployed for whatever reason. And our community is very close knit, and we support each other. So it was a no-brainer, and I'm glad that the other two buildings in my district has followed suit, and they are also Purple Star schools.
Mr. O'Brien, you wore the cloth of our nation's uniform for the United States Army, 2 tours, as you noted, in combat, and of course, our president, if you will, of the Ohio Association of Purple Star Schools. Why did the home of the Rangers and you and your team apply for Purple Star?
Well, if we look at it professionally, when we looked at the application, we were already doing many of the things that were listed. And when I say we, I mean our entire staff, from our social studies and history department to a lot of our, welding programs. We have veterans that are teachers. We had veterans that were custodians. And so we already had this veteran military friendly environment. And so we just wanted to kind of showcase that to the state and showcase that to our families and let them know that there's an opportunity for another connection to not only the community, but also to the schools, as well as our staff. And then personally, being a combat veteran, I found myself kind of in need of some resources. And I also found myself in a couple other battles with the VA and trying to find some supports. It was quite the journey for me, where it took 5, 6, 7 years. And then when I was talking with other veterans, they would share the resources that were effective in working with them. And so I became this mouthpiece and fountain, and almost like a gatekeeper for all these different resources. And I felt, obligated to try and push out as many of these resources as I could. That way, these other families and these other veterans, they didn't have to go through the same journey I did. I could quickly connect them and get them from point A to point B without them having to do any unnecessary, navigation and dead ends. And so, professionally, we were there, and we wanted, just like everybody else was saying, we wanted to grow, we wanted to expand. We saw the opportunity, and we also knew that we could give a voice to oftentimes a group of students and families that typically don't have a voice. And so the short answer of it, Pete, is it just felt right.
On that topic of voices, I know that each of you do not stand alone. So you have colleagues, you have a network, you have nonprofits in your community. How do you deliver on behalf of that title, Purple Star School Liaison, which you are for your Purple Star schools, but to make things happen throughout the academic year? Who is your network, if you will? No matter what title, it doesn't have to even be inside the classroom, if you will, or the school hallways. I know that Corey is a volunteer with USO, etc. So Corey, why don't we start with you, and then we'll go around again.
All right. Well, when it comes to how do we, hold on a second. I'm getting an incoming phone call. So it's, there we go. All right. Sorry. Hopefully you couldn't hear my phone ringing. Maybe it's a snow day for tomorrow. I don't know. We'll find out, but it was from my school district. I'll try not to, I'll get back to being serious instead of being excited at what that message may read. But how do we deliver? Being the Purple Star School Liaison for our building and being a combat veteran, a lot of kids that come through our high school building have an interest in possibly joining the military. And so a lot of the teachers just send them my way. They're like, hey, this kid has some questions. And so I like to field any questions they have about, basic training, the different types of military branches that exist, the different types of benefits. And then being a combat veteran, I want to make sure, because I'm not in the recruiting business, but I do have recruiters come into my classroom and talk about the different opportunities during an advisory time period. Okay, so it's a non-academic class period where we're supposed to, foster relationships with our students and help them get to what our district calls the 3 E's. And so we've been pushing the 3 E's for the past 6 or 7 years. And the 1 E is for employment, another one is E for enrollment, and another E is for enlistment. And so the kids who have the E for enlistment, they kind of come to me. We have those conversations. I host our different recruiters, and they talk about the different opportunities. So we have the recruiters coming in. You have me talking about my experiences. And then again, depending on how the weather works, tomorrow night, I'm hosting a military appreciation night for our boys basketball game, where the basketball game is going to be happening in the gym, but I'm housing a bunch of veteran service organizations or military supportive organizations that'll be in the cafeteria adjacent to it. And those groups include the USO, the Resurrecting Lives Foundation, the Wounded Warrior Project, some of the big name supports that you oftentimes find in different areas, like the American Legion. And then we also have a smaller kind of local group. Like we have a group called the Legion Project, and they teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for free for 2 hours every Sunday in 2 different gyms around the Columbus area. And one of those gyms happens to be in Grove City, which is 5 minutes away from our high school. And so you have all these different niches of resources that can benefit those in your community. There's also the Armed Forces Motorcycle Club. And so you have a lot of veterans that they just really symbolize that wind in your hair, not my hair, but wind in their hair type of freedom by riding on motorcycles. And I don't want to say it's you have to have an honorable discharge in order to be part of that group. And they do a bunch of different community service. And so we're trying to connect not only our students, but also our community, as well as our staff members, to all these different opportunities that are available. And if they don't come to these events, or if we don't talk about them, then they don't know that they exist.
So along those same lines, Lee, like your network, who is your support group to accomplish work and to deliver on Purple Star each school year?
Can you hear me? Great.
Yes.
I am very fortunate, like I'm sure all of us are. I have a phenomenal administrative team, starting with the Board of Education and the superintendent that supports all of our military activities we do throughout the year, as well as I have a number of teachers that work in our district that are also veterans and that are willing to provide expertise. And also I have parents that are veterans or active military, as well as those that work at Camp Perry. And in fact, just this past Veterans Day, we reached out to one of our parents to help us with supplies for our Veterans Day activities. And then we have a very active American Legion in our small little town of Oak Harbor that joined us for our activities as well. And just for our little town, it's really amazing and really kind of brings chills when we have activities and how everyone's willing to be supportive.
Matt, what's the composition of your network? The volunteers, not just staff, and perhaps folks across the community, nonprofits, on down the list?
Yeah, obviously our staff is involved in any of the Purple Star events that we do, and I'd have to give a lot of credit to our former assistant principal, Tim Ford. He actually got the ball rolling on our application when it first came out. He had a military background, and then he ended up finding another job, and then I kind of took over that initial when we were applying for the Purple Star, but he kind of got the ball rolling. So he's a great resource. And then, as I said, with the 180th, one of our former 8th grade social studies teacher, he is now works full time at the base, but he was in our building for, a number of years, 15 years or so. And, he's a great resource to bounce ideas back and forth with. And he has a son in our building now. So that connection makes it nice. And if I need something, or, someone asks me something that I don't know, I can go to him and he can at least find the answer. Because, a lot of these things and a lot of these programs, are unfamiliar to me. So sometimes I'd say, well, I don't know, but I'll find an answer. And that's the great thing about having that network is someone can at least point me in the right direction, or I can reach out to Anthony Wayne and Christine Young, who's just down the road, a Purple Star school, and someone's going to have an answer, and I think that's the beauty of this program. Corey, I do love that you guys are doing the 3 E's. We do that as well. We just had the coffee shop uptown is veteran owned, and the 2 owners just came in and talked to our kids about enlistment just a couple weeks ago. So that's awesome.
It's great to see the statewide network feeding off of each other as well, as far as the exchange of best practices and new ideas. So Christy, obviously with the massive installation that is Wright-Patterson, in fact, our largest single site employer in the state of Ohio is Wright-Patterson. You have a superb school liaison officer, and Mrs. Trina Pauley. You, I believe, have a military family life consultant in your building. So again, that network to help accomplish being a Purple Star school throughout the school year, who do you rely on to take that on every day? Christy.
Yes, I mean, just like you just mentioned, we have so many great resources just in our back door at Wright-Patterson with Trina Pauley and our military family life counselor. I also say our district superintendent, Chad Wien, is very active in the council, and he does a great job of supporting the Purple Star and gives us great support in anything that we want to do as a building or as a district to continue to grow. Our Purple Star roundtable sessions have been really nice for when we get together and just share with one another what we're doing as a school. And that's nice when all the elementaries can get together and the middle schools can talk. But I would say our parents have been wonderful resources because we have so many people that are enlisted right now in our building. And so that has always been a great resource and support of us as we go forward and plan activities in our building.
So Christy, along those lines, obviously you have those resources in front of you, and of course it just becomes a chain effect or a domino effect to get others engaged and involved. What would you say would be one specific element if there is a military kid in your building needing help? Is it something that you rely on multiple folks, or is it just a one connection because of the specific case? You can bring whatever scenario, if you will.
Well, I would say it depends on the scenario, probably what's going on, but I would say our military life counselor, she does a fantastic job of drawing the kid or the parent in regarding whatever the situation is and gets them the support that they need. Our school therapist is also very involved and helps to support the child if it's a transition in or out of the building or whatever's going on in that certain scenario. One of the other things that we started, this is our very first year, is the Anchored for Life Club. I don't know if you're familiar with that. This is our very first year in that program, but we have seen such great success using this with our students. We have 4th graders that we have trained as team leaders, and they now give tours to all of our incoming families. They're the ones that tour the facility with them, talk to them about our school and our military population. They talk to them about events that go on in the community and in the school. They're doing a really great job with that. They also work with kids as they're leaving our school, transitioning either military or non-military family if they're leaving to go to another school. And we work with the kids that have families that are deployed. Those kids are working with them to help them to understand what the deployment is and why their parent is deployed, and help them through all of the different scenarios that are tough with that. And the resources that are available through Anchored for Life are phenomenal. they've just blown me away this year. So that has been a great thing for our elementary.
Thank you, Christy. Matt, as far as programs and activities that you have done in the past, what are some of those examples there at home of the Bulldogs, Swanton?
Yeah, so obviously April's a big month. We do a nice Spirit Week, and we try to recognize our military families when that rolls around. And you've been able to take part in two of our events. Our military family luncheon, our breakfast or luncheon. We've done both throughout the year, so you got a chance to see what that looked like. And then we're kind of known for our big Veterans Day ceremony as well. We love to do that, and we put on a pretty big program in our high school gym. We invite the whole community in, and all of the student body and staff are there. So those are big ones. And then there's small stuff that we do within our middle school, whether it's lunch bunches with the counselor, just talk about how things are going, and just different stuff that we do for our military kiddos. But those are our big ones, and it's always fun to recognize those folks and honor them for their sacrifices.
Thank you, Matt. Lee, some of the activities that you guys have done in the past there at Oak Harbor?
Yeah, and I'm speaking of the middle school. The high school always does something large as well. I'm kind of the spearheaded person for the middle school Veterans Day programs in November, and every year we do something different. And of course, the last couple of years with COVID, we've tried to keep all of our celebrations outside because our facilities we get a lot of people, so we knew that probably wasn't the best thing. So we've been outside the last couple of years, have really kind of gone outside the box in our celebrations. Some of the things that I'm really proud of, Pete, you got to see our first one, or I guess the first one since we were Purple Star School. Every grade level kind of decorated their hallways with a branch, which the teachers just gave them the keys, and they just went to town with it, which was so much fun. And then the kids and families got to take tours. One of the ones that I really kind of remember fondly is I allowed students to kind of plan it, and they focused on how it was to be a child of a military member. So we had students, 4 or 5 different other students, prepare answers to questions, and then I had actual students MC the entire event. And so it was adult hands off, and the students, which I have 4th through 7th graders, did the entire thing, and they just blew me away. And also the staff and the parents that came in. Then we also did a celebration with Armed Forces through music, and our music department focused on just military through music. And so our band and our 4th and 5th grade music performed through just military music and our history, which I always like to do something different. So I've just been very fortunate that our staff is willing to do that with me.
Corey, some of the activities that you help administer there. I know you mentioned about a game tomorrow, but I know whether it be April, Month of the Military Child, or November, National Military Family Appreciation Month, and on down the list, some of the activities taken on by the Rangers.
Well, I was going to just kind of pick up there with, one of the specializations that we have is being a high school. We do the fall military appreciation night with the football team, and that's always a fun night, being able to put those resources out and being able to recognize our community members that have served their country and have worn the uniform. March, Pete, I don't know if you've pushed it out to everybody about the state signing day at the convention center there in Columbus. So we always make a big deal and encourage our students to, take the day off of school to participate in that event. And we get it, some kids, they want to make sure that they're, in school for their geometry test because they, value the importance of graduating. but we want to make sure that they know that that is an opportunity for them. The military basketball game, we acknowledge our former students who had been killed in action. We also recognize our veterans. And then we also, announce and bring the students who are graduating, who have already, cleared MEPS, taken their oath of enlistment. We announce them at center court, and they, just kind of give a wave to the audience. That way, it might be that extra push to help them, make it through basic training, make it through AIT, kind of maybe, deal with that homesickness, knowing that everybody from their school or a large portion of folks from their hometown are rooting for them. We also have, the Spirit Week with Month of the Military Child and Purple Up Day being April 15th, which also this year happens to coincide with Good Friday. So we've already kind of jockeyed things and put it in position where we'll be kind of doubling up on a couple of the days. And then again, talking about the importance of graduation in May, we have our school's personal military signing day, where instead of having the focus being on like guest speakers coming in and talking, we have the students and their families kind of talk about, why are you joining the military? And so it gives the kids a voice like, hey, here's my opportunity to, to explain why I'm joining. And I always offer them, that opportunity to, who would you like to thank that helped you get to this point in your journey? And so it's always, heartwarming to hear them talk about why they're joining and who helped them get there. And then something that, again, I'm bringing up graduation. It's one of those simple things. It was an idea that I had partnered with another Purple Star school, and we put our heads together, and she said that their seniors who join the military get to wear red, white, and blue cords at graduation. And I thought, wow, what a simple gesture. That's awesome. And so we started doing that. And I didn't realize that our French National Honor Society also wore the red, white, and blue cords. And so there was a couple like fingers pointing like, you're not in French National Honor Society. And then there was you're not joining the Marines. Like, what's happening? So we kind of, we've switched to purple cords. And that's kind of reflective of it being, the Purple Star Award. And so we've avoided the confusion. French Club, they have dibs on red, white, and blue. And so being creative and working together, we're like, cool, we'll use purple. And then something else that we like to do is in those graduation ceremonies, have those kids announced during graduation. That way, again, they're being recognized as joining the service. And then we also put a little ampersand next to their name for armed forces. So they have that designation along with, all the other designations that go along with those graduation ceremony booklets. And then something that we're doing new this year is we have two, former students who were killed in action. And in the spirit of trying to spread the Purple Star Award throughout our district, and May being the same month as Memorial Day, what we're going to do is we're going to have two customized softball uniforms made with the names of our boys on their jerseys, and we'll have a little ceremony before one of the softball games here in May. And we thought that would be just a nice kind of like tip of the hat, saying, hey, those kids, even though they graduated in 2004 and 2007, we remember. Right? We have not forgotten their sacrifice, and we want the kids to know and kind of echo those names and kind of share that down. And the softball coach has already agreed to it. And I think the baseball coach might get a little jealous, and he might want a piece of that action too. So we're again trying to grow and expand our programs, borrowing different ideas and seeing other ways and unique and creative ways to integrate the stress of military service and that sense of sacrifice into the building. Like that way the community knows, hey, we know as a district that these kids are going through these trying and difficult times. What can we do to help?
It's been a while since I've been in French class, but maybe vive la liberté in that sense, right? Liberty. And that's one of the other original Elite Eight, Liberty Middle School out of the Olentangy district, where one of our focus groups was held in the 2015-16 school year. So along those lines, each of you've been through year 1, year 2, year 3, and the renewal process of the application of Purple Star. What do you now know that you didn't know then at the first application? Christy?
I would say that we just continue to grow. Our programs have gotten better, our connections have gotten better, our resources have gotten better, and that's not just because of us, but it's because of the great people that are in this group. And we've just grown together and just used all of the resources that we continue to gather from one another, and have been very thankful for the connections that we've made through being a Purple Star school.
Matt?
Yeah, mute here. Yeah, I would say the connections is the biggest change for us. Just knowing more about where to find resources and who to go to, I think is the biggest change for us. 3 years later, for sure.
Lee?
Yeah, I would say connections, but also just knowledge in the community that the community knows that we're so welcoming to military families. So I just think a lot of it's just the knowledge of what we do and what we continue to do.
Corey? I know you don't have a one-word answer in you, but go ahead, sir.
I would say ditto to what everybody else is saying. And it's also kind of cool to have one of your current students come up to you and say, hey, O'Brien, my dad's taking a promotion. He's going from here in Columbus down to Florida. And what can we do? And just being able to walk them through that process, even though we're not next to an active duty base, saying, hey, here's what we can do. Let's talk to guidance. Guidance was immediately on board. School secretaries were immediately on board, able to give them their records and have them hand carry as they try and enroll during a pandemic in a Florida school. And I gave mom my business card, and she reached out like a week later. She said, hey, we're having trouble getting enrolled in this Florida school. And so having the know-withal to reach out to Bob Bune, who's the MIC3 representative down in Florida, before I wouldn't have known who to contact directly. So talking to Bob, and he immediately said, hey, let me know what I can do. The family in the school district worked everything out. They sped everything up. They just had a backlog of messages. It just took them a little longer to get to it. But the family had peace of mind knowing that somebody was actively pursuing their issue and trying to help them.
Thank you, Corey. And of course, what you've heard throughout our first half an hour or so here together was some age-appropriate elements, right? From elementary, which Christy was sharing throughout this time. Corey mentioning, obviously, the high school level, the transcript, working with Florida, and my counterpart there, a Navy veteran fighter pilot. And of course, there are programs when we talk age appropriate for our military kids. Boy State and Girl State. I'm proud to be a product of that from when I was in high school, and the American Legion did a good job, helped me continue and eventually put on the uniform myself. So all of these components seem to help each other. And earlier this year, got to see a young man who came up to me and said, I am now joining the United States military, even though I have no attachment to military in any way whatsoever. But I was enrolled at a Purple Star High School, and so I saw the culture and climate there, and that was inspiring me. Talk about full circle. Continuing on, we, again, earlier this year, unveiled a Google site. So the 400 or so Purple Star School Liaisons, like the 4 here in front of you, the members of the State Council of MIC3, again, professional educator associations, nonprofits, the great state agencies that I mentioned, Ohio Department of Education, Ohio Department of Veterans Services, Ohio Air and Army National Guard, Ohio Department of Higher Education, the Office of the Governor, and state legislators supporting that effort. There is now a message board, right? 24/7 to exchange ideas with each other. So you don't have to host a meeting or gather or email. It's just there for your use to see, as the professionals that you are, because it's a sacred shared mission. All these Purple Star School Liaisons are different in their profession. As I mentioned, Corey is a science teacher, but we have a school nurse, we have a music teacher, we have a varsity coach, on down the list that make up and comprise these Purple Star school liaisons and their professions. And of course, individual, it's a school-based award, but districts end up working together. Christy mentioned Chad Wien being a leader on the state council, her superintendent. He led our Purple Star town hall yesterday. So in that sense, we have the Google site, and we think that's kind of a 2.0 to help internally exchange amongst our Purple Star school liaisons. But what are we missing? So that's the question now to Christy. We did a 2.0, but what perhaps are we missing that we need to go forward and think about? You know, I'm always believing that there's another level or a next level, but from your vantage point, Christy, there at Beverly Gardens, what are we missing in Purple Star that we could take on here in calendar year 2022?
I would say we do a great job, and I also enjoy the Purple Star Facebook page. We hadn't mentioned that yet this afternoon, but I would just say more opportunities for us to connect with one another. I know we do that a couple times a year, but I think the more often we can be together, the more ideas we can share, the more opportunities that we have to learn from one another. And so I think the more we can get together, the better. I feel like, I know with COVID and things like that, we haven't been able to do it in person, but we've been able to be together. But I feel like those opportunities are really critical for our growth and for us to continue to get better every year.
Matt?
That's a good question. You know, I don't know. I think one of the challenges for us that I think we're trying to keep improving is when we get new kids into the building, you know, and kids come and go, just keeping accurate, you know, list of who our military folks are and things like that. So that's always a challenge for us. And then, you know, when someone does come, you know, them knowing and seeing, you know, directing them to our website and things like that so that they know. So I think the more that this program keeps spreading and people hear about it, the better off we're going to be. And, you know, like I said, the bases that are near us, you know, now they know what's going on. A family moves in, they can say, well, listen, you know, the school, you know, there's going to be a person at the school that can help you out, and, you know, yada, 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 whatever the challenge may be. But I think, you know, as we keep building and keep expanding, I think it's going to get easier. Hopefully.
All right, Lee?
I would echo that as well. It's almost like administratively within a district, just that communication piece, when new students or current students are involved, or a parent is being deployed. Sometimes the ones that have already been in your district prior to getting the designation don't necessarily realize that we can help. So they're not always willing to share some of their struggles. But I would like some opportunity to discuss within a district, what are some communication devices that are used, you know, from when they enroll, active duty, and what the needs are of each family. That would be something that I think within my district would be helpful.
Mr. O'Brien?
I would say one of our biggest issues outside of what has already been mentioned is growth. And I know I get excited when we say that we currently have over 400 Purple Star schools, and we get excited about that. But I know Chip Merkel's on here. I saw his name flash by. When we look at how many schools we have in Ohio, we are definitely falling short of having every school being a Purple Star school. And so I think one of the, you know, goals for us is to continue to push, to grow, to expand, and continue to be inclusive. And in that inclusivity, looking at, you know, those connections, looking at that sharing of best practices and that knowledge. But I'm going to say growth.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to have one more here as far as a question and comment, but go ahead. Anyone that's got questions on the line with us today, go ahead and throw them in the chat box. I think a couple have already been thrown into the chat box and then subsequently answered, if I'm seeing this correctly. So great. Obviously, many of it is links, right? The Ohio Department of Education, where the Purple Star School Award is housed and led by from this team. The Google site, etc. But go ahead and throw in the chat box any additional questions if we haven't had those answered there yet. So as you see, the folks here, it's an all volunteer force. I shared the different professions that go on throughout the state of Ohio, the different age ranges as far as age appropriate professional development activities. I know that we as a Purple Star School Advisory Board had to come together when schools that were outside the mainstream were thought of, okay, can we have these apply as in a preschool, a career tech center, etc. So those folks applied in year 2 and they're part of this network. Like I said, they have access to the Google site and they're sharing supports and resources. One career tech center, I think, has access to 16 schools, high schools. So that adds more of the support to one another. So that's great. I see there's a question came in. Collaboration. What has the cost been? Okay, we'll let that question go to our panel. Christy, you can ballpark any of the collaborations or costs as asked by Chevelle.
I would say we've had very minimal cost to anything that we've done as a community or as a building. Most of our programs have been supported by the school district or the community. We've had volunteer give us donations for different things that we've done in the building. The Anchored for Life resources are amazing, that provide a welcome packet to the building when they arrive. It gives them a packet when they leave. All of those resources are provided for us. And I would say we've had very minimal cost that has gone into having to pursue the Purple Star.
Matt, from your vantage point, it's one.
Yeah, I would echo those sentiments. There's, I mean, obviously, if you want to do like something special, a special event, there might be some fundraising or asking different community groups to, if they want to participate. Our district, hey, we feel it's important, so we do a big Veterans Day ceremony. We think it's important, so we're willing to pick up the tab for to host a breakfast or something like that. But I don't know that those are always that's not the main point of this program. Those are nice features and great things that we do for our families, but you can certainly be active regardless of budget and still provide those resources for your families and put them on your school's website so they're easily found, and have your counselor meet with those students. All those things you can do for very little to no expenses. So hopefully cost isn't a fear for schools out there.
Lee?
I would completely agree. We've had the breakfast, we've had students make things, we've had very little cost to do what we do. It's just time, but time well spent, and none of us even mention anything about it. It's something that we are passionate about.
Corey?
Just kind of echoing what they've already said. Fundraising has helped with the bigger projects. We're looking at putting in a military memorial on our campus, and so we're doing fundraisers for it. One of our school board members has a Dairy Queen, and our athletic secretary, they're married, so they're military brats, and they graduated from our high school. They're selling Star-Kissed popsicles, which is a novelty item. It's a popsicle that's in the shape of a star. It's red, white, and blue. And so all sales from that are going towards the memorial. We did it 2 years ago for our other military appreciation night, and we were able to raise $1,000 to sponsor 2 veterans for the Columbus Honor Flight. And so much of it is, I was given $0 for a budget, but we've been able to make everything work. Again, because it's a community effort, it's a community collaboration. The American Legion is always willing to help out, whether you're looking at sending folks to, like what Pete said, boys state or girls state. There's always somebody who their heart is going to be compelled to help you achieve that goal. Sometimes it's with grants, but the graduation courts, minimal costs. The different events, donations. And it's great to get the parents involved because they want to help. They want to be back in the schools. They want to do what they can. So cost really hasn't ever been a talking point for us.
So through all these questions and answers, you can hear that it's very personal, it's very professional, it's very local, but the exchanging and the stealing of ideas goes on. And I think that happens in any state. I have roots out west, same thing there. They're bigger military states than Ohio, but they get it done for their communities. In fact, California just announced its first Purple Star class. And then last month, West Virginia announced its first Purple Star class. Might be the largest inaugural class of any state to have Purple Star, because I think it was to the number 130. And again, bigger than California or that our Elite Eight. Valerie Kunze, a member of the state council and senior staffer there at the Ohio Department of Education, threw in the chat box the number of schools that are Purple Star here in the Buckeye State, the next round or announcement, if you will, of the next class of Purple Star schools, and then of course the new round that will come up later in the fall as a next academic year there. Thank you. Want to note that speaking personally, professionally, the SOS Student Club, the Serving Our Soldiers Student Club, also got the mascot Bulldogs there at Rossford High School, Matt. Were the ones that brought it to the attention of the administration of Rossford High School, saying, hey, there's this Purple Star School Award. Can't we apply? So talk about student-led. They said this is what we should do, and they led their adults and said, hey, and Rossford High School is now a Purple Star school. So you hear about these relationships, you hear about it personally, you hear about it professionally, and then of course the folks of all volunteer. Mrs. Tweed, Ashley Tweed, represents elementary educators on the State Council of MIC3, a Purple Star School liaison. They're at Belleville Elementary School in North Central Ohio near the 179th Air Wing, fighter wing there. She was the one that came up with the concept of the, if you will, 24/7 Google site, so that we can exchange these ideas, load up one-pagers or descriptors of our programs so that we can share these. So it doesn't have to be through a conference, a meeting, a Zoom, a Skype, on down the list. It's there, and all of our professional Purple Star School liaisons have access and can upload their own initiatives. And that's where the exchanges happen. Because if you notice, from the home of the Bengals to the home of the Browns, that's a long drive between Cincinnati and Cleveland. And so therefore, that Google site, through the leadership of Mrs. Ashley Tweed, a member of the State Council MIC3, helps support ongoing and even snow days like this. So with that, is there additional questions and comments, closing comments from our panelists, our superb panelists? Corey, your hand is up. I'll let you go, and then we'll go around the room and wrap up with Christy. Go ahead, Corey.
I feel like we would be remiss if we didn't mention Dr. Michelle Lewis and our Purple Star Bulletin. That's another way that we try and keep people up to date. We try and, again, have another way of connecting all of us together. And so between the Google site and between the Purple Star Bulletin and the Facebook platform, we're trying to do as much as we can. I don't know if anybody's Twitter savvy or if anybody has Twitter fingers and would be interested in, getting a Purple Star Twitter page up and running. But by all means, feel free. But we are absolutely blessed to have Dr. Michelle Lewis, who puts so much time, effort, and energy into those Purple Star Bulletins. Thank you.
And she's a French teacher. She might have been able to help me with my former 7th grade Vive la Liberté, if I got it right there, and a great military mom as well. So again, going around the group and closing comments, Lee.
I just want to say thank you for everyone that has joined us today for this we're the thing that we do every day, especially on a day with weather hitting all of us. I don't know, up here on the lake, we've got quite a bit of wind, a little bit of blizzard conditions up by me. But I appreciate the time that everyone has spent this afternoon. Thank you.
Sure thing. I see another question. We'll tackle that here in a moment. Thank you, Chris. Matt, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I agree with the comments that were just made. It's fantastic. If you're not a part of this, hopefully you will consider. And thanks to everyone out there that keeps pushing this mission. Shout out to Chip Merkel too. I know you mentioned him earlier, Pete. He's always available. If I've had a question or needed something, he's an email or a call away. And of course, you too, Pete. You kind of spearhead this whole thing, and I appreciate being able to pick up the phone and talk to you, or shoot you an email, and I always get a response and kind of setting us straight and telling us where we're going with this thing. So I appreciate you and everyone else that's involved in this program. Thank you.
Chip has the distinction of being a former educator, and of course, with this founding of this program 5 years ago and 10 years on the state council on down the list, but being in every school district in Ohio. We have 88 counties and 612 school districts, and Chip Merkel has been to each one of those. So he's got his miles in. Sometimes he takes his rotary dial phone in the car with him, but a great exemplar Ohioan for everyone, like you noted, Matt. Christy, some closing comments, and then I'll get to Chris's question.
I would just like to say thank you for hosting today and for having us. I feel very privileged to be a part of this group. And if anyone is interested in the elementary and has specific questions, please feel free to reach out anytime or come visit us. We would love to have you. We welcome visitors at any time. I feel very lucky to be a part of this group and the collaboration that we do together. So thank you everyone for joining us.
Question from Chris in the box was, is the Purple Star Bulletin available to all schools or just Ohio schools? As I think Corey noted, we do multiple publications each year. Our editor-in-chief, publisher-in-chief is Dr. Michelle Lewis from the Heights Middle School in the Olentangy District. I know we post, I think, through that Google site, so you should be able to see past editions there. But obviously, we do have a list that goes out, and I think some colleagues on the MIC3 have requested to receive that because obviously there's components there. So I think we could welcome that. I don't see that being an issue. So Chris, if you want to connect with any one of our panelists, Chip Merkel, myself, Valerie Kunze, leading over there at the Ohio Department of Education, we could get you on that list proc, if you will, and get you access to past editions, let alone future editions of the Purple Star Bulletin. Oh, I think there's one more question that came in. I have to scroll. All right, there's the email address, purplestar, one word, at education.ohio.gov. Again, purplestar, one word, at education.ohio.gov. Shout out to Purple Star in Oklahoma. Thank you so much. Well, I got 1 minute to 4:30. I want to just express my appreciation to, again, these all volunteer colleagues that give up their evenings and weekends and beyond the academic year, the school year. Corey, you have something to note?
Yeah, I was going to say, thanks to Valerie, she said that we had 381 Purple Star schools, which means we still have our work cut out for us, right? So have those conversations, try and encourage your fellow teacher and administrator friends around the state. And FYI, we're currently up to 33 Purple Star states. So we haven't hit 50 yet. So again, we still have that work cut out for us. Have those conversations across state lines, encourage your families, your teachers, even students in other states. Hey, let's get that Purple Star award in all 50 and let's continue to move forward. Thanks, Pete.
Thank you. And I got 4:30. I see Chevelle says, thank you from North Carolina. I know for some reason you try to take our Wright brothers away from us by saying you're first in flight. That has never been the case. It's Huffman Prairie, where the Wright brothers are. just a little needling there, as I do with my counterpart, the MIC3 commissioner there in North Carolina. But great fun, shared mission, sacred mission, and we continue each one of us in our own ways, because it is per Purple Star, locally driven. And aloha to each and every one of my fellow Ohioans, and those of us that have joined this final and fourth installment of Purple Star Town Halls. Thank you so much, and stay safe, warm, and dry out there. Bye now.